Welcome. This is the Lifetime Cashflow through Real Estate Investing podcast. This is where you'll learn strategies to help you achieve lifetime financial freedom through real estate investment. Your host, Rod Khleif, has owned over 2,000 homes and apartments, and he brings experts in all aspects of real estate investment and management onto the show. Now, here's your host, Rod Khleif.
If you think you love real estate, or even more importantly, if you know you love real estate and you're going to use that as a vehicle to your financial freedom, then listen up. I've got an incredible online course and coaching program that'll give you all the tools you need to build that life you want. My students are buying tons of properties. They're syndicating deals, and they're raving about the course, the coaching, and the incredible support that we give them. Now, what you haven't heard is that I've got options that anyone can afford. I don't care if you're working a minimum wage. So there's no excuses. If you know you want more, you know you deserve more, if you're ready to get out of the rat race, text the word CRUSH to 41411. We'll have you fill out a short questionnaire. Then we'll set up a strategy call with you. Take action right now and text CRUSH to 41411 and get started. We're going to help you crush it. Or if you learn better at a live event like I do with total immersion, come see me in Atlanta. I'm excited to be doing another 3-day boot camping in Atlanta in just a few weeks on November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Now, at this event, I'm going to teach you how to find deals in this hot market, how to find all the money you need for your deals, how to easily build your team, how to finance your deals, how to manage your deals, and everything else you need to know to buy your first apartment building in 90 days. I'm also going to spend a lot of time on your mindset because you know that's actually more important than the real estate knowledge. This event is just me training you to kick butt in this business for 3 days. Now, tickets for this event, I promise you, are going to sell out, and they're going to sell out fast because it's a much smaller room. So if you're interested, don't wait. If you want more information, just text the word multifamily to 41411 right now, and we'll send it to you. That's multifamily to 41411, or visit multifamilybootcamp.com. I hope I get to meet you in Atlanta. All right, let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I am thrilled you're here. And this is a real treat for me today to interview the gentleman I'm interviewing today. His name is Rock Thomas, and Rock and I actually met in Fiji at Tony Robbins Resort. And I've got a lot of memories of that time we spent together there, and we have grown to know each other over the last 2 decades since then. And Rock is as a dynamo. Rock, he's touched millions of lives. He's created something called the I Am movement. He speaks about motivation and dealing with adversity regularly. His background is he started in the real estate business with some award-winning RE/MAX franchises up in Canada, wasn't it, Rock? Is that where you're from? Canada, yeah. So listen, I'm just blessed to have this guy on the show. Rock, welcome to my show, buddy.
Well, it's an honor to be on this podcast, and after 20 years to watch you overcome what you've overcome. You should be talking about overcoming adversity, maybe not even me.
Well, let's compare notes. It's always it's not something anyone should ever dwell on, but we all grow from what happens to us. So, why don't you start by talking a little bit about your story, Rock, and how you got to, where you are and how you started out and how you ended up where you're at today. I think that'd be fascinating for my listeners.
Yeah, sure. My story is kind of middle America, even though I'm from Canada. It's about farm boy to financially free and breaking out of the things that caused me pain. So I grew up in a farm where I had to work very hard. At the age of 8.5, I fed 22 horses before I had a chance to eat breakfast, literally locked out of the house. And what I didn't know at the time was that I was actually being prepared for life. And what I felt at the time was I wasn't being loved. So I developed a little bit of a passive aggressive kind of character. But at the same time, when the chips were down, you wanted me on your sports team. You wanted me to be the guy in your corner because I knew how to make it happen no matter what. Fast forward 20 years later, I'm in my late 20s. I bankrupted a restaurant, and my father got diagnosed with cancer. I was almost a millionaire, sheerly Rod through hard work. 16 hours a day, cutting lawns, waiting on tables, driving cabs, doing all the little labor work that I could do because that's what I was taught by programming. My father passed away to cancer. I took all my savings and I ended up paying off his debt and taking care of him. And I ended up being bankrupt and sitting on my mother's couch. And then I met my first major mentor. And this guy, and for me, I've learned that a mentor has some characteristics. Number one is you got to admire them. You got to go look at them and go, I want to be him or I want to be her. And I love this guy. This guy his name was Wayne Jordan. He drove a 500 SL Mercedes. He dressed in sharp suits. He had really cool hair, and he was an accountant turned salesman. So he had the numbers and he had the style. And he's the guy that took me under my wing. And here's what he taught me. Rock, you are better than you think. You don't just have to work hard. Nobody ever taught me that. Nobody ever told me that. My father didn't tell me that. He was just pushing me down. So I started to believe in myself. And when I started to believe in myself, he says, well, here are the gaps. I needed to learn how to interact with people, build rapport, have people skills that I didn't. He sent me on Dale Carnegie courses. So he guided me. But not only that, Rod, he came in the field with me. When I fell down on my face, he says, yeah, that's normal. That happens. Wipe yourself off and get up and go knock on another door. So I started to believe in myself. And he gave me the strategies to overcome my own story. And eventually, through training with Tony Robbins, I was able to develop the mindset to overcome the negative things that happened. And I went from this struggling salesperson to selling 100 homes a year. Then I bought the company up to 5,500 homes a year. I've sold over 80,000 homes in my lifetime, $1 billion a year. And everything sprung from there because I learned about passive income and how you don't have to work if you pour your money into things that work hard for you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it's interesting to hear you describe your story because, I've seen that evolution in you and that growth and, I love the fact that you referenced this mentor and you credited the mentor for those dynamic critical characteristics that every human being needs. And guys, if you consider, if you feel like maybe you're not the greatest communicator, maybe you don't have the greatest people skills. I remember I never did any of the Dale Carnegie stuff, but I know it's fantastic. My brother talked about it. And of course he wrote the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is really just about asking questions and allowing other people to talk. So guys, if you feel like that's something you need help with, I'm going to recommend you reach out either to his organization. I mean, he's long gone, but I know that they're still helping people and or get that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But the other piece that you touched on that is critical, and that is that self-confidence, that belief in yourself, so that you're not afraid to take action. So what do you think he did to help you build that in yourself, Rock? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I say is say yes and figure it out later. And it was really born into me by when you grow up on a farm and let's say the pipes go out to the horses to feed them water in the automatic feeders, and then they freeze due to a really cold frost. You don't not feed the horses water. You carry buckets and you do whatever it takes. It has to happen. It's not optional. So you become a very resourceful person. So I learned that at a young age. And I remember when I was 23, I had this dream to be in a movie, and I was working on a set with Patrick Dempsey, who was losing his virginity to this angel who was this porn star. And it's like 11 o'clock at night. We're in Montreal filming this movie. It's on the water. The boat is in the water on the dock. And they want to rock this boat to simulate him losing his virginity. So you can't make this stuff up. No, you can't make this up. True story. Meatballs 3. So this whole set's there. The director's there. He says, okay, now rock the boat. But nobody had planned to rock the boat. They didn't think about that part. And Patrick Dempsey isn't in the boat. They don't need that for the B-reel of the boat moving. So they're like, somebody rock the boat. And they're all looking around at each other. And I'm just a gopher. I'm walking around the back, literally sweeping and stuff like that. And he starts yelling, somebody needs to get this boat to rock. We're wasting money here. I literally run right past everybody, fully clothed, jump in the freezing ass cold, dirty, murky water up to my chest. And I go, hey, how about this? And he goes, perfect, roll camera.
That's funny.
The next day, they had another scene where they're moving some stuff through some mud and nobody wanted to get their shoes dirty. And the director, again, he's like, okay, come on. And he goes, where's that kid that rocked the boat last night? He'll do anything. Get him down here. And that led to me to realize that most people don't want to do what's difficult. They want to do what's easy.
Right.
They don't want to overcome their fear. So I learned when I read a book, because I grew up without a TV, do what you fear and it will disappear. So every time something shows up, like walk across the bar and ask a girl and tell her she's got a nice smile and ask her out on a date, as soon as that fear of flutter showed up in my body, boom, I knew I had to move into action. If I wanted to knock on a door, I was told 10 times no, and I didn't want to go to the next one. My brain says, time to go for a coffee. I said no, bang on another 10. So I trained myself that when something bubbled up as a fear, if it wasn't going to physically hurt me, that I would take action on it. And that's where I developed this say yes and figure it out later. Because most of the time we die 1,000 deaths just in our own mind.
Oh, and I love that, especially what you just said. It's so true. We dwell on it and we stay in our head and we never take any action. And you stay in your head, you're dead. And I love what you said about, most people aren't willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. And it's one of the things that I teach in my events. And particularly as it relates to marketing and going out and finding deals. And I mean, when I bought 500 houses in Denver, it was knocking on doors of houses of people that were in foreclosure. And I did it every night for years. And no, who does that, but it triggered my success. And that's an example of it. And I love what you said about resourcefulness. I really don't believe that there's a trait that can be as impactful on your success as your ability to adapt and just take action and do whatever it takes. And it ties right into your say yes and figure it out later quote. So, in your past, talk about an action you took, big or small, that massively improved the quality of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was 23, it was right after that movie, actually, I ended up convincing my mom to loan me $20,000 to get into a restaurant business. And it was her life savings.
Wow.
And of course, I knew everything about restaurants at 23. Within 6 months, we were bankrupt and I lost all her money.
Wow.
The guy that got me into the business was an airline guy. So he went back into the airlines and he brought me with him. I got a job as a flight attendant. I had to move up to Quebec City where they speak only French. And necessity is the mother of invention. And I felt so desperate to pay back my mom that I moved to this city and I learned how to speak French. And I learned through immersion, just listening to it, reading the newspapers, radio, TV. Nobody speaks English there. And I forced myself to adapt. And I started parking cars at Hotel de Gouverneur at night to make some extra money, flight attendant during the day. And then I picked up a book called Nothing Down by Robert G. Allen. You might remember that one.
It's one in my library. It's there along with some of his other books. That's hilarious. I haven't heard that title in years.
Right. So it shows you how old I am. But The fact is, I started reading it and I didn't believe that you could actually buy a house for no money down. It seemed ludicrous that you could do that.
Right.
So I started driving around. I saw this little for sale by owner. I decided to knock on the door. It was a piece of crap house on a busy street and nobody wanted to buy it. And I realized that with 4 handicapped people in it that you had to take care of, that you needed a kind of a mini permit for, there was another obstacle for people buying it, which was the perfect occasion for me to become the new owner of this property. So I took 2,000.
I don't understand the handicap piece. What were there 4 handicapped people in it, or
there are 4 physically handicapped people? I had to learn how to give insulin shots. I had to feed them.
So you were buying a business, basically. You weren't just buying the house.
It was kind of like a semi-retirement home with 4 people in it.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But the revenue was $2,400, and in those days, the mortgage on this $62,000 home I bought was $400 a month.
Right.
So I hired a girl to take care of them during the week while I was working for $250 a week. So the total cost was $1,000 for the labor. Leverage people, you become wealthy. I bought the real estate with $2,000 down on my Visa card, and I got a vendor buyback of the mortgage. So they loaned me $60,000. So I didn't have to qualify at the bank, which I wouldn't have qualified for. And then I got this property that I lived in that cost me no money to live into it. And I made about $1,000 a month, added on to my job as parking cars and as a flight attendant. And I paid back my mother in 18 months.
Nice.
So I would say that desperation is a great motivator. Hopefully you can do it through inspiration and have a dream that you can live into. Unfortunately, if you're over 25 years old, most people don't change unless there's a trauma in their life. So they have to go through a divorce, a bankruptcy, or a breakdown, or get some illness before they make a shift. Unless you can be around people like yourself, Rod, that are saying, hey, here's what I did, and you can do it too. You can lead an epic life. You can have all the money you want to either impact yourself or other people's lives. Most people don't change. So mine was born out of necessity, but what I learned from that was I went on to buy a senior citizen home, and I learned that real estate, I think, and I think you think it, is the best vehicle for creating wealth. There's just many different ways you can do it. You have to find out which one resonates with you.
No question. Couldn't agree more. And I love what you said about desperation creating leverage and momentum. And I will add to that, disgust sometimes works as well, where you just like, I've had enough, not another day, not another minute, not another second. I'm taking action. I'm going to change my life. Awesome. So tell me, what's something that amazes you, Rock?
I'll tell you what amazes me is that 77% of the population live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Something that amazes me is that 80% of the people are stuck doing something they hate. What amazes me is that people leave college or school and they think that the education stops when really it's just beginning. Or
that they actually got any education, any relevant education. Sorry to interrupt, but please continue.
Yeah, 100%. And I really think that college and universities should be there to teach you to learn, but they don't actually do the opposite. They teach you to be stupid
and memorize.
And memorize stuff. And one of the reasons that I teach two things will create success. Rod, number one is a work ethic. I was blessed growing up on a farm. I developed a work ethic, and I'm proud to say I can usually outwork other people. I show up early, I stay late, and I've been given multiple opportunities at different things, all the way from getting my pilot's license at 15 because I was so keen to help out the pilot around and clean for him that he started giving me lessons, to the ownership in the restaurant, to buying the business, to getting a job, as a trainer for Tony Robbins or for T. Harv Eker. They're all because of my work ethic. Mm-hmm. I'm no smart guy. I'm a farm boy. I'm dyslexic. I can't spell very well. Some people say I don't speak very well, even though I'm a public speaker. But what happens is I have a massive desire to work and add value and show up. So that's something you can learn. And that's what I invite people to do, is just show up early, stay late, but just start with that. Say yes to the overtime shift. When I was a flight attendant, I went to the dispatcher and I said, every time somebody shows up sick, put my name at the top. I'll say yes every time. Guess what? That made his job easier, right? You got to add value to your mentor, and you got to add value to the people around you, and opportunities will start to knock on your door. People are like, well, no opportunities come my way. No shit, they don't come your way, because you're not adding value. You're not going to give extra value to the world. So work ethic, number one. And number two is, I say, passionate curiosity. So Einstein said that he's not the smartest guy. He just stuck with the problems longer than other people. And I'm kind of that too, is I'm curious. I'll go to another event. I've been to 71 Tony Robbins events. People go, are you crazy?
Yeah, we're about neck and neck on that one. Yeah, that's about right. It's, and you're always growing, you're always learning, and you're continually curious. Guys, if you're listening and you have children, there is no greater quality that you can instill in your children than curiosity. And it's never too late to be curious. I love what you said, passionate curiosity. That's I'm going to steal that. That's absolutely fantastic. And circling back to what you said about work ethic. Whenever I've hired hundreds of people in my lifetime, and that's the number one thing I look for. I look for passion and work ethic. The technical knowledge we can train every time. It's the desire to want more. It's the willingness to do whatever it takes. Love it. So,
Yeah, and it's the willingness to learn at everything and not come in with an attitude of, yeah, well, I know that. I've swept the floor before.
right,
I want to know what technique do you use? How could I make it 1% better? Right? It's that interest in what do you, Rod, know that I don't know, that I need to know, that's going to transform my life and give me an edge.
Yeah, it's almost a spirit. What's the word? Like a Far East philosophy that the gurus in the Far East will teach you, that the cup is never completely full. That you're always looking for information. If the cup's full, you have no room for more knowledge. Love that. What would you say is the biggest risk you've ever taken, Rock?
There's so many to choose from. I've made millions and lost millions. But the biggest risk, I guess, when I was given the opportunity to buy the real estate company, I was a realtor. I was just overcoming debt from a divorce and from some bad decisions I'd made. I was making about $400,000 a year as a realtor, but my expenses were about $400,000 a year. And I had just moved into a house. I had kids that were 4, 3, and 1.
Wow.
And my wife and I had 2 kind of very average cars. And my owner walked into my office and he says, I want to sell you the company. Now, what I didn't know is that he was sick with cancer. And he looked at the 94 agents in the office and he said, how do I quickly sell this company before anybody sees me get worse? And he chose me because I prepaid my bill to him 6 months. And of all the realtors, realtors are notoriously bad
Hand
at
to
managing.
Hand to mouth. Mm-hmm.
They're terrible with money. So he looked down his sheet and he goes, who's a good prospect? He goes, well, if this guy can pay his bill 6 months in advance, he's definitely on the list. And I was also innovative in the industry at the time. I was selling 100 homes a year, which the average agent was selling 6. I was hungry, aggressive, had a great work ethic, never complained, and I was also very curious. So he walked to my office and he says, do you want to buy the office, the entire office? And I said, yes, because I say yes, and I figure it out later. But inside, I was freaked out. I'm like, I don't have the money. I don't know how. I was like 5 years as an agent. And I had agents in that office. It was back in the days when RE/MAX had recruited all the top brokers from all the other agencies. And
they were the best. They were the best back then. I mean, I remember that period of time. I was in real estate then. I told they were like the creme de la creme. They were the best agents out there. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I was this new kid disturbing things in the creme de la creme, and now I was going to run this office. Right. I didn't know how to public speak. I was nervous. So I went all in. I sold my house, sold 1 car, moved into a rental, and gave him everything I had, and had to make another 100 sales that next year and run the office just to make the payments. And if I did anything wrong, my kids were out on the street and I was done. Wow. So that was one of the biggest risks. But here's the deal, is I was so freaking alive, Rod. Every day I got up, I was focused. A little ache and pain here, a little sore throat. You don't have time for that stuff.
Right.
You overcome what might normally be a problem. As I say to people that are bitching and complaining about stuff, you don't have big enough goals.
Why do you think that was? Why do you think that you crushed it back then and you were in the zone for that period of time? Why? What was it? Necessity? Was it passion? Was it that you saw a goal at the end of the tunnel? What do you think drove you in that particular period in time?
I read a book called The Millionaire Next Door. And I remember them talking about the fact that once in a while, a calculated risk will come to your door. And it's in that moment that you can have a quantum leap in your life. And I just felt that this was that occasion. If I stepped in fully, embraced it fully, and gave it my all, my life could become 10x. And within a couple of years, I was making $1.3 million a year. And I was netting 1.3 million instead of netting like 100,000. It was that desire.
Because you got uncomfortable.
I got freaking uncomfortable.
You just did what you had to do. You know, I just had a sold out live event in Chicago this last weekend. 409 of my now new closest friends, and one of the things that I say from stage, and it was an awesome event, and I do a lot of the psychology of success pieces and goal setting and pushing through fear and embracing gratitude and all of these things that are so important to your success. And one of the big things is to tell everyone there that the life that they want is on the other side of comfort. And so those of you listening, if you were there or you want to know more about that, go to multifamilybootcamp.com. My next event is in Atlanta. It's coming very quickly, and this venue's half the size. I'd love to see you there. It's November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and we will crush it again, but it's going to sell out very quickly. So if you're interested, go there right away to buy the tickets. And our early bird pricing is only going to be around for another week. So don't waste time. Just go do it.
Say yes and figure it out later.
Just say yes and figure it out later. I freaking love that. So Rock, let me ask you, what do you think is the trait you like the most about yourself?
So for me, it would fall into the category of drive or determination or discipline. Because I think that so many people give in to that part of their mind that says, I don't feel like it, I'm not in the mood, which is there for all of us. I mean, I want comfort too. I like flying first class, etc. But the reality is I find a way to do what needs to be done by doing the little things that I don't want to do. So for instance, if I'm in bed and I forgot to brush my teeth, I force myself to get out and brush my teeth, and I do a little dance and celebration and say, yes, I was disciplined. And people are like, that's kind of quirky, but you know what? You can't get rejected that way. You can't get told you're an idiot or a fool when you're doing those things. I say, pay the price of practice in private so you can perform like a pro in public. And that's the difference between the people that they go, I'll brush my teeth, nobody will know. No, but you know. Your cells in your body know. That's who's paying attention. It doesn't matter who knows. What matters is your own integrity. So my integrity with myself is I'm 55. I work out consistently. I take care of my body like you do. I honor that part. And it's that consistently shows up. So when I show up in a meeting or on stage, it's in the cells of my body. And that, to me, Rod, gives me the edge. So pay the price of practice in private if you want to really perform out there. Don't wait till you're in the heat of the moment and go, oh, I got this. The pros don't do that. They practice and rehearse and practice and rehearse, and they discipline their disappointment and they step forward. So to me, I'd say it's those little tricks of doing the little things behind the scenes that gives me the confidence when I'm on the real stage of life.
No, I love it. I love it. And I love, the way you described it as celebrating the discipline, and you really need to do that. And in fact, I was just on a coaching call a moment ago, and I tell people, celebrate your progress. Even it doesn't matter how minor it is, because progress and growth equals happiness. And when you celebrate, when you went over and above, and it's the things you do when nobody's watching, like you just described, that really define your self-discipline. So let me ask you this: what personal trait has gotten you in the most trouble?
Probably saying yes and figuring it out later.
Same answer. That's awesome.
I think that it's a lack of vision. So I would come along, I don't have a clear vision. And because I'm a visionary as far as ideas are concerned, and I have a lot of things I want to do, I start many businesses, they grow quickly, and then somebody that isn't qualified says, oh, I can handle that for you, or I could do that for you. I say, okay, run with it, without going through the proper vetting or the proper indoctrination. And later on, I have to undo things.
Fire, ready, aim.
Exactly.
All right. Oh, I'm guilty of that too. So I totally...
So I would say, just a clearer vision and commitment to that, and then hire slowly and fire quickly would be the way that I run my businesses now. And I've been a little bit of a slow learner in that area, to be honest, Rod. I've got over 400 employees and 36 streams of income, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning every day.
Tell me about some bad advice maybe that you've gotten along your journey.
I got some bad advice from some people that I thought I could trust. And I once loaned $200,000 to this woman that I shouldn't have. And her house was a crack house. I ended up repossessing it out of emotion. When emotion goes up, intelligence goes down. And I said, I'm going to get my money back. I didn't even go see the house. I just heard. I took the first mortgage over for $583,000 when I got the property and took possession of it, which took a long time to get her out. There was 26 animals in it. I poured more money into it. It got worse and worse. I ended up losing $400,000 because I listened to one person that was a mortgage broker that I thought I trusted. But the reality is I didn't do my due diligence. So I have to own it. But I was bitter, pissed off, angry, mad. I played a victim for probably a decade.
Wow. Yeah, that's painful that you relive that stuff, and we're all guilty of it. So what do you do now on a consistent basis to continue to educate yourself?
Well, I'm part of multiple groups that are mastermind groups where we share high-minded conversations.
Yeah, let me give a shout out to one that I know you're very proud of. It's called GoBundance, and I've heard nothing but fantastic things about it. And I've got a mastermind myself that I just started around multifamily real estate investing. It was just incredible. But I know that the power in a mastermind is incredible, and I know that you're very proud of that one. And I know Pat, who's in it, and some other people, friends of yours and mine, that are in it. Just an incredible organization. So shout out for that. And I'll put that in the show notes if any of you are interested.
Sure. I would say this, though, in a nutshell, is you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. We know that. You've heard it before. Right. I've taken it to heart, Rod. Mm-hmm. And I don't like small talk. I want to tell people I'm not interested in small talk. When I meet you, I want to go deep. I want to know what you're passionate about. I want to know what you're afraid of. I want to know how I can help you, who I can introduce you to, what I can do to push you, support you, cajole you, energize you, or mess you up, or just have a blast with you. But I want to go frickin' rich, and I want to go deep in my life. So if you're interested in average or just gossiping, sorry, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
So I'm ruthless with who I spend time with. And that's the biggest thing that because then we are osmosis. I even looked it up in the dictionary. Osmosis, we learned about this in biology in school. It is the infiltration of energy without your permission. Mm-hmm. So when you're just around people, unconsciously you pick up a vibe. You've heard of people say, oh, I have an intuition, or I can feel that person, or you feel somebody walk in the room and you go, oh my God, that's heavy. We don't realize it, but you have to really be careful with what you expose yourself to, all the way from food to conversation. So what do I do for personal development? I expose myself consistently to great audiobooks, podcasts. I read, I meditate, I do incantations, and I spend time selecting the conversations I have with people very carefully.
No, I love it. And you're dead on. And I know that, I'm a member of 3 or 4 masterminds myself. A couple of them have made me, millions of dollars. One was Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership, and others. And I'm very excited about the one I just started as well. I just had a version of it in Las Vegas about a month ago, actually, and had about $3 billion in assets represented. And guys, those of you listening, your peer group will either elevate you and expect more of you and push you, or they'll pull you down. And so you really need to pay attention to who you hang out with. And I tell people from stage, and sometimes it's your family as well. You got to really be careful who you allow to influence you. And I say, love your family and even love some friends, but choose who you allow to influence you. Choose your peers. And very, very important. And if any of you are interested in my mastermind, it's called the Multifamily Boardroom, multifamilyboardroom.com. And I'm really excited. We're going to have
Great
another
name.
event in West Palm. Thank you. Yeah, it truly is the top multifamily investors on the planet. Most of them have at least 1,000 units. It's just incredible. I've got a huge, big name surprise guest coming to the one I'm having in West Palm in December. In fact, it's right after Tony's event, Date with Destiny. I'm going to Date with Destiny, and then the next day is my mastermind in West Palm Beach, so it's kind of funny. The other thing I want to mention, I want to circle back to something else you said with it, which is, guys, you have a choice as to what you allow into your brain. There's so much great content out there on YouTube, podcasts, free content, and so motivational content. I mean, if you listen to my podcast, I do a weekly motivational tip, but don't just rely on me. Get out there and bring that great stuff in, but also stand guard at the door to your mind. There's so much crap out there. I don't even watch the news anymore because it's all so negative, and you want to bring positive in. Would you agree, Rock?
Yeah. By the way, the news isn't news. They are entertainment, and they're appealing to the 95% of your brain that is fear-based, and therefore it grabs your attention. Somebody just texted me yesterday, there's a tornado that's going to happen, like 15 miles away from here. And I'm like, whatever. It's like, I just don't tend to focus on things I can't control. And there's no space in my mind for that, because I'm into creativity. I'm into what's the next idea I can jump on. And I think maybe people know this, but I would encourage people to spend 10% of their wealth on education, is going to your events, is hanging out with other great people, meeting cool people. Earmark 10% for that. And that can include your travel if you want to. It depends on how much you're earning. But also, 10% of your money should go into investments. Pay yourself first. It's kind of cliche, but you know what? Most people aren't doing it, Rod. The piece that people don't talk about is, I say 10% minimum of your day should be bathed in inspirational and educational stuff beyond what you know. The thoughts and mind that you have today cannot get you to a higher place than you are. So you got to go and you got to get more of them. I have this one saying I like, is that your friends are comfortable with your present, but your mentors are comfortable with your future.
Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Awesome saying. So what's next for you, buddy?
Well, I'm going to Japan in a couple of days with my Go Abundance guys. We do an international trip every fall. So that's 12 ruckus days.
I think last year was Vietnam, if I recall, right?
Last year was Vietnam and Peru, and we do really cool stuff every year. So I'm excited about that. I've got a bunch of my own events this fall. And it's really about helping people get into an ecosystem that gives them the support, encouragement, and challenge that will cause them to realize the goals that they want. Basically being the better version of themselves.
I love it. I love it. And guys, I also want to circle back to something you said earlier. I forgot to add some emphasis to. Anytime you add more value, you will be a success. The most successful people on the planet are the ones that added the most value. So think about how you add value. Think about how you can add value, and it ties right into your success in anything, including your life. Rock, I really appreciate you being on the show, brother. It's been such a treat to have you here, and we're going to definitely need to do it again. And I look forward to seeing you very soon at an event. Learning is earning, guys. I did a picture on my Facebook page of all these lanyards from hundreds of events that I've gone to. I put them on both of my arms because that's my education. I never went to college, and I just want to stress that. And Rock is a great example of that. If you guys are interested in checking out Rock stuff, it's rockthomas.com, THOMAS.com. Thanks again, brother. I appreciate it. It's great to see you, my friend.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be here. And I just remind everybody that the words that follow I am follow you. So if you're in the multi-business, you might want to go as I am an amazing investor. I find great deals. I'm always open to partnerships or whatever. Language yourself into your results and watch how the two you close the gap on that. So yeah, it's a pleasure being here, Rock.
By the way, Rock, I want to mention Rock wrote a book called Get the Power of Your Identity Now. And like he said, anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. And there's no greater force in the human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. I'm sure that book is awesome. I'm going to actually get it myself now that I see it here on your bio. I didn't know about it. So get that, guys. Rock, thanks for being on the show, my friends.
Pleasure, Rod. Thanks, bud.
Right, take care. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Lifetime Cashflow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please take a minute to visit iTunes and leave your comments. For more resources or to connect with us further, please visit our website at rodkhleif.com. Tune in next week for our next show.